Slinkachu, the little people artist. Slinkachu was born Stuart Pentoll in a British. He's a British street artist who was born in Devon, UK in 1979. He works with a mixture of sculpture and photography and street art and installation. He started to create his scenes using figurines and mini objects in 2006 and has since exhibited photographs of his work in art galleries across the world. He's written 3 books that are all available on Amazon. The books are Little People in a City, The Street Art of Slinkachu, and Big Bad City. These books contain pictures of his works. They would be great coffee table books and a more affordable way to own his works because some of his works can be very expensive. I found a wonderful artist statement saying that I started working with miniatures in 2006. My work involves remodeling and painting of model train set characters when I place and leave them on the street. It is both sculpture, street art installation, and photography. The street side of my work plays with the notion of surprise, and I aim to encourage city dwellers to be more aware of their surroundings. The scenes I set up, more evident through the photography and titles I give these scenes, aim to reflect the loneliness and melancholy of living in a big city, the universal sense of being overlooked, lost, and overwhelmed. But alongside these, there's always some humor in the works. The modern world can be a preposterous place to live, and I encourage empathy with the tiny people struggling to get by. We're all kind of tiny people getting by in a big world, and this is a wonderful way to look at things that things could be worse, as you may see in some of these little people's lives. Slinkachu's most expensive work to date was sold at auction for $11,548 US. It's titled Branded and was sold at Christie's South Kingston in 2014. This was the most expensive that I found. It is not personally my favorite. However, it is funny. Yes, it makes fun of the rich and materialistic, definitely, but no, it's not my favorite. This is, however, one of my favorites. It's titled Exhale. Uh, um, it's got 2 blown out matches holding up a hammock on a rock for a woman to lay out in the sun, a beautiful sky. If you didn't notice that the sticks were matchsticks, you probably wouldn't know that this picture was of a little person. So I just find this a really neat, serene picture. He states his thought process is roughly the same process for each scene. He spends a long time coming up with the narrative ideas. He keeps sketchbooks full of drawings and notes. Once he has an idea, like, can I make the figures? He gets his train set figures, he customizes them as needed, cuts them up, reposes them, adds new elements with modeling clay, paints them, um, often with props of some sort. Sometimes they're found objects on the street, which I find fantastic. He also collects miniature items from sites like eBay. He gets makes things from scratch, from modeling kits or household objects, for instance. He once made a water slide from a curly drinking straw. Um, he is, in the future, you will see one that's actually made out of a green shoelace, which I love. I think it's hilarious. Um, but he says that the scenes typically take 5 to 10 minutes to set up, depending on the complexity. Um, some, if they're more complex, 30 minutes to an hour. Um, taking the photos depending on the light and what's going on. If everything goes right and it doesn't get disturbed, the weather's right, the light plays along, it goes a lot quicker. I personally love this artistic thought process. We're taught to do much the same in our classes. Sketch a few ideas on what we want to do. I also appreciate that he recycles materials. It makes for a much more interesting composition in what he's doing with the little people, but he's also not making excess waste. He states that he doesn't always make a strong political or social statements. He doesn't set out to make a pretty picture. He's interested in social themes, which I definitely think most of his do make social themes. He's interested in representing real life and often in a metaphorical way. Um, the installation and images he's happiest with have different layers to them. On the surface, they may appear humorous or cute, but underneath, there's often a darkness or a serious issue. The images almost have a narrative that is left open-ended for the viewer. If they're prepared to use their imagination and figures, locations, props, and angles combined to create this, I like exploring different ways the city life affects us. And it usually involves themes of isolation, loneliness, and frustration if in one way or another. A lot of these stories are based around smaller issues that we face in day-to-day basis rather than big political comments. But you can't avoid politics in everyday life. So I know that this has entered my work more and more as I've gotten older. And yes, I have noticed that he does have um, many political installations, some of them making fun of politics, um, and some of them not so much meaning to be political. Um, then these two, the top one is named What Brings Us Together, and it's got the clothing line bringing the two people together, and the second one is What Keeps Us Apart, on the bottom. This one here I find a little bit more political. It's called All Alone. It and I like this setup because it shows you the installation itself on the left in a close-up view with the little person being watched by the camera, but then kind of how you could easily walk past it on the right, because you really can't see the little person if you were just walking past how hard it really is to see in the real world. This is another one that is actually found on YouTube, one of his installations. This would, in America, would be considered rather controversial. I don't know about in London or in Europe, but it's basically a bunch of Cub Scouts playing amongst a bunch of cigarette butts in a river of spilled soda. It's playful enough. I don't know about how the music ends at the very end. Um, I'll let you be the one to determine how you feel about it. See what I mean there at the end? Kind of creepy. No. These here, unfortunately, I was not able to find a name for the work on the left, but it's basically like a whale jumping over some little people. The one on the right on the top is called Fall, and it's a little guy falling from a leaf. The one on the bottom is actually installed at a children's playground, and it's called Hide and Seek. Here, the one on the left, rather disturbing. It is called Stroll, and the little person lost. I was, this is the shoelace one on the top on the right. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the name for it, but it's basically kind of a little Loch Ness monster with some little people running into him. And then on the bottom, this is called Friends for Life. Each of the little medicines have a custom label on them, and they're labeled with anxiety and depression medications. And um, yeah, that one's a pretty deep one. It's actually installed in this big glass box, and it just has the one bottle, the one person, and piles of medications. Um, Kind of a depressing thought to me. So, but in conclusion, if you ever find yourself in London, don't keep your head in the clouds because you may be missing something little and amazing. Um, Definitely check out Slinkachu because he is very exciting. He may be working on very little things, but they are making a big hit.